participant of the Summer Success Stories series.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the people.
Well, my name is Kerell Lightbourne, originally from the Bahamas. Family's from Turks and Caicos. I am now, I spent pretty much all my life here in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm now the chief pilot of a company in Boca Raton called Privaira.
Mm-hmm.
And I fly what's known as Part 135 operations, which is a on-demand charter operations here in Boca Raton.
Okay. So what formal education do you have? I see some degrees on the back of your wall.
Yeah,
Tell us about those.
After high school, I went to what was formerly Palm Beach Community College, which is now Palm Beach State. I did 2 years there at Palm Beach Community College, but the funny thing about it is I transferred to Embry-Riddle, where I received my bachelor's degree in professional aeronautics. I actually got my bachelor's degree before I got my associate's degree. And a few years later, when they were closing out the program for Palm Beach Community College, they called me back and asked me that I wanted to return back to school to finish my associate's degree. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense because I already received my bachelor's degree. Like, okay, well, just send us over your transcript for your Embry-Riddle classes, and then we'll call that done.
Okay.
So yeah, so I received that. It's like a 2-for-1.
Right, and I see you have Lynn University up here.
Yeah, Lynn University, I actually just finished last year around the same time. Thank you. That's always been a dream of mine, and I think more so my mother, because she wanted me to, she didn't really care for me doing the pilot thing, so she wanted every avenue that I could possibly get to get out of actually flying.
Okay.
But it's always been a dream of mine to complete my master's, and after maybe 2 or 3 attempts, I finally went back and got it done. So.
Okay. So was your decision to become a pilot influenced by anyone? I heard you just say that your mom isn't too keen with you flying. Because we see it on the news often where planes come down. My father would not, he does not like it. He said, they're not supposed to, these heavy machines are not supposed to be in the air. So who influenced your decision to become a pilot?
I actually know what I thought about that. And, I have a family with generations of pilots. My uncle's a pilot, and a few other cousins and other family members that are pilots or in the aviation field. But it's always something that I have always wanted to do. I can remember as a child, summers over in the islands with my grandmother, I would just ride this little bike that my uncle gave me during the summers to the airports and just watch the airplane. Any toys that I had were airplanes. I remember building Lego airplanes, so it's always been in me to fly. So.
Okay, so walk us through your journey into becoming a pilot.
Wow. It was a journey.
Okay.
I tell you what, when I graduated high school, I actually started Palm Beach Community College as an architect student.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I did 4 years of architecture drafting in high school. So, but I always knew that I wanted to be a pilot, but I just didn't know how to pay for it.
Okay.
I was in the workforce program, which paid for my education. But they didn't want to pay for aviation because it wasn't in high demand at the time. So what happened was I started that and I figured out that I can get financial aid to fly.
Okay.
So everything else was out the door. I started the flying portion of it. And again, my mother didn't want me to fly, so when she heard that, it was like, oh Lord. So
I get it.
I was always a year behind with the flying and stuff like that because I didn't have the money to fly, but the financial aid would pay for the classroom portion of it.
Okay.
So I started the classroom portion of it, and I had to catch up with the flying because I had to wait another semester that I can apply for the financial aid in order to get the flying portion going. So once I got that going, it was like I was, again, behind the 8 ball because all the knowledge stuff, I wasn't able to apply it at the time that I was actually doing it.
Okay.
So I forgot a lot of things. So there was fly, and it came natural to me, so I didn't have a problem with it there. But it became a problem when it was actually time to do my what's called a check ride, which is actually your test to get your license. and I ended up with this instructor who was very thorough, and he put me through the ropes, and I realized that, man, I forgot a lot of knowledge. And thankful to him that he was actually a firefighter.
Okay.
And he spent a lot of time with me, you know, not charging me because it's very expensive to do that. And once you run out of money, which I did many times, you know, he sat down with me on his free time at the fire station, and he worked with me in order for me to get the knowledge portion up to speed. So after that, we finally knocked it out, and I kind of, after almost failing my first license.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was, once we started the testing portion, which the check ride, I forgot everything. I mean, I could not remember my name. I couldn't remember anything. I was so nervous because a lot was riding on it. Like I said, I was always behind, and I was trying to catch up. Parents asking, you know, hey, when are you going to get your license? When are you going to get your license? It's been so long. So I was like, I got to pass it. So my nerves got the best of me, and then but that day was actually an eye-opener for me, because I realized how much you needed to sit in that classroom and actually apply everything that you've learned and stay up with it. So after that, I got really focused, and I banged out the flying stuff pretty quick after that.
So after you take the exam, I know you just don't overnight become a chief pilot. What is their step
to get me
to
here?
Your success?
Well, I tell you what, I think from high school, because, as you know, I had a son when I was young, and, you know, everything from that point became a challenge.
Okay.
So it was a challenge to be 18 when you were 18, because you want to hang out, but you really couldn't do it to the level the other guys were doing it, because you had to come back home because you had a child. So, you know what, and I always believe in that God make no mistakes, you know?
Correct.
So he put that challenge in front of me because he knew I needed something to keep me much more grounded. So I had to accept that. But I was looking at life as, you know, I'm starting off behind the 8 ball because, you know, my parents expect so much from us. And I felt like they kind of thought that because I was always the outgoing one versus my sister, that they wasn't sure what was going to come of me, you know. They knew I had it in there, but they just didn't know if I was going to get it out. So I felt like I had to succeed.
Right.
But it was always a challenge, you know. From that point on, it was the struggle to get going with the career. And like I said before, it was always behind with the flying and getting things going. Everyone was graduating college, and I was still in there knocking out. You know, it was always something. And but I knew I had to keep going.
But that goes to show it doesn't matter what challenges you face. With drive, determination, and discipline, you can accomplish any goal you set yourself out for.
Most definitely.
As he mentioned, he was a young father at 18, but with discipline, sacrifice, look where he is now. So it doesn't matter where you start. It's all about where you finish if you have that goal in sight. So who is your biggest cheerleader? Everybody needs a cheerleader to keep you motivated and to keep your fire going when you hit those stumbling blocks, because they all come up.
Yeah.
Life happens. Who keeps you going?
You know what? I think that fear of failure. You know, I know that my family and everyone is, you know, even if it's directly or indirectly, I think they're in my corner and they want to see me win. So I would have to say my family.
Okay.
But for the most part, I think is the fear of failure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what is the most rewarding part of being a chief pilot?
I must say this was actually a position that came, I don't know, at the right or the wrong time, and depending on, you know, how successful I become as time go along. But, you know, when I took on this position, you know, it wasn't anything, I could do without the title.
Okay.
It really didn't matter. But what it did was give me an opportunity to change things.
Okay.
So being able to, I feel like I have a rounded mindset about aviation and what we want as pilots, that I could actually give something and kind of change things and make things better, and provide a better operation platform for the guys that's out on the road, including myself.
So I know you said that the position to become a pilot was influenced by your uncle. Did the coins involved have anything to do with that? And without going too deep in your pockets, but I have to ask. This is a standard question I ask of all of the success professionals that I interview. What those coins look like?
Well, it's.
You don't have to be specific, but give a range of what one could expect. And also, I know I keep throwing questions at you, but the pilot title is a prestigious title. So one would think with that title comes buku money. But we know that's not always the case, because as the first interview I did with the attorney, some attorneys come out making $35,000-$40,000, and they're not thinking that that's what's going to happen. Is it the same thing for a pilot? And I know I just threw a whole lot of questions out at once, but you get the gist. What those coins look like?
Well, I can tell you what. Just like anything else, you have to pay your dues.
Yes.
And I can remember when I first started my career, I used to be a CAD tech for FP&L. I lost my job. I always had connections down in the islands with families and stuff like that. So I knew that instead of sticking around here, becoming a flight instructor, working long days, making, $9 an hour or something, I had an opportunity to kind of advance my career a lot faster doing real life work. And I remember the day, February 28th, 2006. I moved down to Turks and Caicos. I was making $1,500 a month. And I had to support myself down in the Turks and Caicos, and I had just purchased a house here. So you can imagine what that was like, and and the amount of time that we flew. I think it was a private operation. When we broke it down for the amount of time that we put in, which we started work about, our first flight was 6:30, I believe, and we had to be there an hour before that, so it's 5:30. And we flew pretty much about 12 or more hours. We were making like $2.50 an hour. So.
Is that even illegal?
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, it was rough. And but again, you have to keep the end goal in sight.
Yes.
And I hustled for about 8 months like that, which I struggled, and I struggled for a long time. So no. I mean, you don't come out the box making a lot of money. Absolutely not. You have to put in your dues, and even though now it's a different market. You have a lot of low time guys that actually get lucky like that, because it's a pilot's market. You have a lot of the airlines taking up a lot of the guys with a lot of seniority, and it's forcing everybody to take low time pilots and fill those positions. So now it's a different market, but back then. No, it took a long time, and that road to become a chief pilot was long. But actually, before I left the Turks and Caicos, I was actually the chief pilot for a small operation down there where I worked with, which was actually only 3 aircraft, which didn't entail as much as I have to do now. So
what advice would you give to a young adult who wants to become a pilot? What advice would you give them? And it's 2 parts. What advice would you give them, and what advice do you wish someone would have given you when you set along your journey to become a pilot?
Find a mentor. Because I've wasted so much money just trying to figure this out. Like I said, once you start your initial flight training, you're dealing with young guys that's actually building time to become something as well. So what happens there is a lot of times these guys, they'll get their time and they'll move on. So you have one instructor today, but next week you have another instructor. So of course, naturally, somebody's taking you under the wing where they have to sign you off. They want to see what you know. So that's another day wasted just showing this other guy what you what you knew and what you already trained. So that's time and money. So definitely I would find a mentor, and find a path where it's uninterrupted. I mean, if you can go to an academy or something, I recommend that because you can bang everything out in a short period of time. Don't start a family early.
Okay.
Because I mean, it takes a special person to go through this craziness with you.
Yes.
Especially in the beginning. I mean, if you have a child, if you have a family, it takes a toll because you don't make a lot of money, and if you're starting out, it takes someone understanding.
Okay.
So definitely, do it early. Find a mentor. Don't start a family early because you have a long road to go.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's key. That's key. I think if I had a mentor or somebody to drag me along, I would have been further along.
Okay.
And a lot less in debt.
Right. So. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Kerell, giving us and my viewers the inside scoop on becoming a chief pilot. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.